With a scarcely disguised air of delight in her voice, Marjorie Thompson declared, "Kira, after 15 years with TechVantage, we're restructuring your position." Both she and Denise from HR wore well-crafted faces of corporate regret as they sat across from me in the tiny conference room. Denise handed a manila packet over the table and continued, "The company is moving in a new direction. Although we appreciate your contributions, the research division will now be a part of the product development team." I accepted the folder without viewing it and gave a contemplative nod. The typical severance package, 2 weeks for each year of service, 3 months of continuous health coverage, and a list of career counseling options I would never utilize would all be included. "I totally understand," I said in a firm voice. "These choices are never simple." Their cheeks lit up with relief. Clearly, they had anticipated protests, tears, or rage. I was, after all, a 55-year-old woman being forced out of the IT sector, which valued youth above expertise. They were unaware that I had been looking forward to this day for weeks, ever since a misdirected email thread showed up in my inbox last month. "We want you to clear your desk by Friday," Marjorie added, feeling more assured after my seeming approval. "Before you depart, we'll need your phone, laptop, and keycard. We'll notify your team this afternoon." My group. Over the years, I personally hired and supervised 6 outstanding engineers. The same team that had assisted me in creating the distributed processing algorithm that currently powers AccountSphere, the flagship accounting software product from TechVantage that is utilized by more than 40% of Fortune 500 businesses. I got up from my chair and said, "Of course, is there anything else?" They looked at each other, obviously taken aback by my poise. Marjorie was the first to recover. "For now, that's all. I appreciate you creating this." Expert. I passed the conference room with the glass walls where the executive team was meeting on my way back to my office. I could see CEO Victor Lawson making enthusiastic gestures at a PowerPoint presentation called Q3 Revenue Projections Through the Transparent Barrier. At last year's industry convention, Victor Lawson claimed to have invented my method, but he just mentioned me as a member of our research team. After shutting the door to my office, I took out my own phone and sent one text message. "It's taking place. My last day is Friday." The answer was prompt. The time was ideal. "Contracts are prepared. We'll finalize the specifics over dinner tonight." I glanced at the calendar on my desk and grinned. It was Wednesday today. My final day at TechVantage would be Friday. What about Monday? It would be interesting on Monday. Gregory Sullivan and I met that night at Meridian, a fancy restaurant located a long way from TechVantage's headquarters. Greg understood the importance of caution as the CEO of TechVantage's biggest rival, Precision Systems. In the back, he had secured a secluded dining nook that was protected by tasteful Japanese screens from prying eyes. After we gave the order, Greg shook his head and stated, "They really did it." I had a sneaking suspicion that they would, but to fire the person who created their main technology. I sipped my water and said, "Victor never understood what I actually created." He could see the marketing possibilities, the user interface, and the implementation, but what about the underlying architecture? To him, that was merely technical information. The irony was nearly flawless. When I asked TechVantage's legal team about it, they stated that they had never filed the patent application for my distributed processing algorithm, which I found out about 3 months ago. They had promised to take care of it right away. However, their reaction had seemed strange, so I looked through the company's internal records. At that point, I came across a strategy letter detailing plans to describe the algorithm as a company-developed technology without naming the inventor. Knowing that employee-developed intellectual property usually belongs to the corporation, they had intended to fire me before obtaining the patent. TechVantage was unaware that I had previously been utilizing my own tools and working on algorithmic improvements on my own time. My employment agreement did not cover such upgrades, which resulted in a 43% boost in processing efficiency. Last month, I discreetly submitted a patent application under my own name, complete with development logs and timestamps that amply demonstrated the work was done outside of business hours. Thanks to Greg's referral to a renowned IP lawyer, the patent had been awarded remarkably quickly. Greg said, "All the paperwork is finalized," as he moved a packet across the table. Precision Systems formally obtains exclusive license rights to your invention as soon as you sign. You are announced as our new Chief Innovation Officer in a press release that is sent out Monday morning. Even though I had already committed the important concepts to memory, I carefully went over the paperwork. A considerable financial stake in Precision Systems, a 7-figure signing bonus, plus continuous royalties from all products that use my algorithm. When Victor learns what has transpired, how do you think his face will appear? Unable to conceal his delight at the possibility, Greg inquired. I said, "I'm more worried about my team. They have no right to be affected by the consequences." Greg gave a nod. "Already taken care of. If any of the 6 are interested, we have opportunities available for them. Senior positions with large pay increases." I closed the folder after signing the last page. I had protected my team, secured my future, and guaranteed appreciation for my efforts in a single, graceful gesture. Greg raised his glass and exclaimed, "To new beginnings," I added, clinking my glass on his, "and to owning your own value." Exit interviews, knowledge transfer sessions, and bidding farewell to co-workers dominated Thursday and Friday. Even when rumors circulated across the organization, I remained composed and professional. In the hallways, I got sympathetic looks from administrative assistants. Awkwardly, junior coders came up and asked if I could give them recommendations on LinkedIn before I departed. I took careful notes on everything, every project, password, and procedure, well aware that TechVantage would soon realize how meticulous they required me to be. It wasn't kind of me to leave detailed transition notes. It was proof that, in contrast to the firm, I had acted in good faith. Denise from HR mechanically went through the normal checklist for my last leaving interview on Friday afternoon. She pushed a non-disclosure agreement across the table and said, "You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of TechVantage." Naturally, I gave a pleasant response. Anything created during business hours, utilizing company resources, and being under the purview of my job. Denise was too preoccupied with checking boxes to realize that I had slightly highlighted those qualifiers. "And you confirm that you don't possess any copies of confidential company data?" I honestly attested that I have not taken anything that is TechVantage's. After all, the patent belonged to me. Marjorie dropped by, resting against my doorframe with a fake sense of casualness, while I was packing away the personal belongings from my desk, family pictures, a collection of conference badges commemorating 15 years of industry events, and the coffee mug my team had given me for Christmas. As she watched me stuff things into a cardboard box, she added, "I just wanted to make sure everything's clear for your departure." "It's crystal clear," I said, putting a minor award I had won for the algorithm at the heart of my plans. I gently sandwiched it between layers of tissue paper, not missing the irony. Marjorie went on, "You know, Kira, these restructuring decisions are never personal. Victor believes the business should take a more youthful guidance." I raised my head and looked her in the eye. "I fully comprehend. Business is business." She paused because of something in my tone. Uncertainty appeared on her face for a second, but she brushed it off. What could a 55-year-old lady who was about to lose her job do? "Are you going to take a vacation?" With a phony tone of worry in her voice, she inquired. I said, "Actually, I already have something lined up. On Monday, I begin." "Oh." Her expression changed to one of surprise. "That's quick? Is there anything intriguing?" I grinned. "Very. A position of leadership. I'm really looking forward to that." She gave an involuntary nod, already shifting her thoughts to other topics. "Good luck with that, then." I paused to reflect on the building where I had spent 15 years of my career As I left TechVantage's glass headquarters for the last time, keycard in hand and personal possessions behind, I could see that the executive conference room on the top floor was lit up for an evening meeting, perhaps to discuss how to divide up my duties among younger, less experienced, and far less expensive employees. They had no idea that the same space would be used for an emergency crisis meeting less than 72 hours later. It was a clear and bright Monday morning. I put on my new charcoal suit, a power outfit I had bought just for this day, and dressed carefully. At precisely 7:30 a.m., the Precision Systems town car pulled up to drop me off at their offices, where I would begin my first day as Chief Innovation Officer. Greg told me, while I was getting used to my new corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows, that the press release went live at 7 a.m. Already, industry newsletters are noticing it. The communications staff is keeping an eye on responses. The announcement had been carefully planned out. Dr. Kira Jennings, the inventor of the revolutionary processing algorithm, has joined Precision Systems as Chief Innovation Officer, and the company has acquired the exclusive rights to the algorithm. It described how Precision Systems will incorporate the algorithm into their upcoming product line, highlighted my credentials, and highlighted my position as the only inventor of the patented invention. Most significantly, it made it very evident that any business utilizing the technology now would have to work with Precision Systems to negotiate future license deals. My phone lit up with the first text from my old TechVantage crew at exactly 9:15 a.m. This place is in total disarray. "What did you do?" Miguel, my lead developer, sent it. "Check your personal email," I typed back with a smile. "There are offers waiting for all 6 of you." At TechVantage headquarters, 8 miles away, the planned Monday morning executive meeting was changing drastically. Miguel's play-by-play updates throughout the morning indicated that Victor had come to the office to find the chief financial officer and general counsel of the company waiting at his door, both with pale faces. They all received the industry notification at the same time, which triggered alarms right away. What should have been a standard beginning-of-week meeting had turned into an emergency crisis session by 9:30 a.m. Members of the board were making distant calls. The legal team was frantically going over the paperwork related to the algorithm's creation, as well as my employment contract. Miguel said that every file that has your name on it is being pulled. All of the research division's servers were just brought in for analysis by the tech team. I had an exact mental image of the scene. Pacing the meeting room, Victor pressed the legal department and Marjorie for answers. The news would already be causing the stock to react. Investors detested uncertainty, and there was a lot of it because of the announcement. Victor himself sent me an email at 10:45 a.m., and I could almost feel his urgency coming through my laptop. "There seems to be a miscommunication, Kira. Kindly give me a call as soon as possible to talk." Without replying, I sent it to the legal department at Precision Systems. By midday, speculation was rife in the sector. Since the market opened, Precision Systems stock had increased by 12%, while TechVantage's had fallen 7%. I was asked to do interviews with 3 separate technology newspapers regarding the strategic coup that rocked the accounting software market. Greg stopped by my office as I was getting situated and inquired how I was feeling. I honestly responded, validated. I've spent 15 years witnessing people claim credit for my efforts and hearing that I should be thankful for the opportunity to sit at the table. And now, at last, acknowledgement. At the door came my new executive assistant. "The development team is waiting for you in the main meeting room, Dr. Jennings." And she paused. "The CEO of TechVantage has made 4 calls in the past hour." Calmly, I said, "Please let him know I'm in meetings all day." Later this week, I'll ask our legal team to get in touch to go over licensing possibilities. My phone buzzed with another Miguel update as I was making my way to my first meeting as Chief Innovation Officer. "The board recently called an emergency meeting. Victor appears to be on the verge of blowing up. P.S. I accept your offer, as does my staff. When are we able to begin?" Everyone at TechVantage was aware of the full effects of my departure by Tuesday morning. Their main product, AccountSphere, had an advantage above rivals since it processed the enormous datasets using only my algorithm. In the absence of my patent's licensing rights, they have two equally undesirable choices: engage in negotiations with precise systems or start from scratch with their basic technologies, a method that would cost millions of dollars in development and take years. Miguel texted that Victor had scheduled an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m. He was leaving TechVantage that day. Next Monday, he and the other members of my previous team would begin working at Precision Systems. There are rumors that they will attempt to sue you. I sent our legal department his mail, and they got back to me nearly right away. Give it a shot. Your documentation is flawless. Timestamps, development logs, and the use of personal equipment are all well defined. We are ready for this situation. In the meantime, I was adapting to my new position remarkably well. My latter years at TechVantage were a far cry from the respect I got at Precision Systems. People genuinely listened to me when I talked in meetings. Male coworkers did not repackage my ideas and pass them off as their own. They saw my age and experience as advantages rather than disadvantages. Greg told me during our afternoon briefing that your efficiency enhancements are being implemented by the engineering team. Even better than we anticipated, early testing reveals a 51% performance gain. I acknowledged that I had a few improvements that I never discussed with TechVantage. I didn't see the need to offer them my best work after learning that they were about to abolish my position. With a contented smile, Greg answered, "Their loss, our gain." In relation to that, this morning we received the first licensing inquiry. TechVantage hasn't yet. They continue to live in denial. But from Dataflow Systems, they fear that they will be caught in the crossfire. Miguel sent a thorough report of Victor's all-hands meeting at 3:30 p.m. By promising the employees that TechVantage would actively defend our proprietary technology, the CEO had attempted to convey confidence. However, there had been a noticeable sense of dread in the room. Sensing the company's vulnerability, a number of employees had already modified their LinkedIn pages. Miguel claimed that when someone inquired directly if they had failed to acquire the patent, Marjorie appeared to be on the verge of fainting. After then, Victor ended the question period. The damage from the industry had worsened by Wednesday. Concerned about TechVantage's capacity to continue producing the product without the algorithm's developer, two significant clients had approached Precision Systems regarding leaving the AccountSphere. As TechVantage's stock continued to fall, ours had increased by an additional 8%. Denise, the HR representative, who had just days before pushed my severance payout over the table, called me. "Kira," she said in a cautiously formal tone, "I'm calling to talk about the state of your patent. We think that ownership rights may have been misunderstood." Calmly, I said, "I don't think there's any misunderstanding. My job contract makes it very clear that whatever intellectual property I create on my own time and with my own money belongs to me. That is confirmed in the patent documentation. Victor hoped you might think about visiting to go about your options." I replied that any negotiations would now have to go through the legal department of Precision Systems. They would undoubtedly be pleased to schedule a meeting to go over the terms of the license. The other end's quiet spoke a lot. Denise sighed at last. "I'll let them know." That afternoon, I gave the board of directors of Precision Systems my first official presentation, laying out our technology plan with my algorithm at its core. Greg gave me an encouraging nod as I stood boldly at the head of the table, not tucked down in the back like I had been at TechVantage. 1 week after I left TechVantage for the last time, the company was in full crisis mode by Friday. Major investors expressed alarm as their shares dropped 23% since Monday's opening bell. Speculative articles like, "Can TechVantage survive the algorithm crisis?" were being published by industry analysts, and how a tech giant could lose everything due to one strategic error. I found out through my contacts in the industry that Victor had finally told the board how serious the issue was. TechVantage would be forced to either rebuild AccountSphere entirely without utilizing any of the technology covered by my patent or license my algorithm from Precision Systems, perhaps at astronomical prices that would wipe out their profit margins. Interviews for a new development team have begun. During our Friday video call, Miguel told me about his impending move to Precision Systems. In 6 months, Victor says, they can replicate the capabilities. I couldn't contain my laughter. Even with my deep understanding of the issue space, it took me 3 years to perfect the initial algorithm. Miguel concurred. Particularly after your team posted their resignation letters at the same time, no one is believing the timeline. The loss of information is enormous. Finally, that afternoon, Precision Systems was contacted by TechVantage's lawyers to discuss possible license agreements. Following the plan we had created, our legal team's response included 3 times the industry standard licensing rate, a public recognition of my role as the technology's inventor, and terms that were technically fair but strategically damaging. More than the price, they will object to the recognition. As we went over the response in his office, Greg made a prediction. Victor's pride prevents him from acknowledging that he forced out the individual who developed their key technology. I responded, then they'll have to rebuild, and every day they try to duplicate my work is every day we increase our market share. 10 days after my abrupt termination, on Monday morning, I presided over the first meeting of my newly formed innovation team, which comprised Miguel and the other 5 TechVantage engineers. As we plotted out the next generation of my algorithm, the room was charged with energy. Development meetings ought to be like this, said Anita, a former teammate of mine. At TechVantage, we devoted half of our time to educating executives about fundamental ideas that they would never listen to. That's what separates being valued from being viewed as interchangeable, I said. Your skill is acknowledged here. My helper showed up at the door as we were finishing off the productive session. There's been a big advancement with TechVantage, Dr. Jennings. A sudden change in leadership was been announced by their board. Victor Lawson is resigning with immediate effect. The word got out fast. After the patent mistake that jeopardized TechVantage's key product, industry journals reported within hours that the board had lost faith in Victor's leadership. Along with the head of law, Marjorie Thompson was also dismissed for improperly securing the patent. Richard Donovan, TechVantage's recently hired interim CEO, sent me an unexpected email that evening. This communication was direct and kind, unlike Victor's frantic one from the week before. Congratulations on your new role, Dr. Jennings. I was brought in to assist TechVantage in resolving the current issue. A reasonable licensing agreement for your patented technology is something I would want to talk about. We're ready to officially recognize your accomplishments and make the necessary corrections for the mistakes made by the previous administration. Is it possible for us to meet next week? I added a little message and forwarded the email to Greg. The first phase is finished. His response was prompt. Excellently done. The board is celebrating Precision Systems' first significant win. It appears that TechVantage is at last taking a costly lesson about appreciating inventors and innovation. I was sitting on stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference, getting ready to give the keynote speech 3 months after leaving TechVantage. Many of the technology journalists, industry leaders, and aspiring developers in the crowd were already familiar with my narrative. With great pleasure, I now present our keynote speaker, Dr. Kira Jennings, Chief Innovation Officer of Precision Systems and the inventor of the distributed processing algorithm that has transformed data handling in numerous industries, as revealed by the conference organizers. When I walked up to the stage, there was a lot of cheering. A few months could have a big impact. As a member of the TechVantage delegation, I had been at this same conference last year, sitting in the back as Victor presented the advancements his business had made. Thank you, I said, looking around at the focused faces. I want to discuss innovation ownership today and the significance of appropriately appreciating intellectual contributions, no matter where they originate. In addition to discussing the specifics of my algorithm's technical features, I also touched on the more general concerns of respect and recognition in the technological industry. I underlined the significance of businesses safeguarding their innovators rather than viewing them as expendable assets without specifically bringing up TechVantage. Later, at the reception, a number of young female engineers came up to me to ask for guidance and support. "Your story changed the way I document my work," one of them, who was only 30 years old, revealed. "On my own time, I began to keep thorough records of my development process." "Wise," I said. "Your inventions should be safeguarded." I looked at my phone as the evening came to an end and saw an alert about industry news. Finally, TechVantage acknowledged me by name as the algorithm's designer and announced the licensing arrangement with Precision Systems. Although it was valued far lower than it was prior to my departure, their stock had stabilized. I was sitting in my large office at Precision Systems, looking over the quarterly innovation report, exactly 1 year after I was instructed to clear my desk. Under my direction, the business launched 3 groundbreaking products based on my algorithm, overtaking rivals like TechVantage in terms of market share. My analysis was interrupted by a knock on my door. Greg was holding 2 glasses and a bottle of champagne. He placed the glasses on my desk and wished me a happy anniversary. Prior to the public announcement, the board requested that I personally inform you of the news. For the first time in the company's existence, Precision Systems has formally overtaken TechVantage in terms of market capitalization. I grinned with a sense of peaceful satisfaction rather than victory. That is the result of appropriately valuing innovation. My helper brought over a neat envelope while Greg poured the champagne. An invitation to speak at the annual Leadership Summit of Women in Technology was enclosed. The subject? Taking pride in your intelligence. How an industry was transformed by appropriate documentation. Observing the invitation, Greg remarked, "You know, you've become something of an icon." Corporate boardrooms now use the story of the executive who didn't realize what she had until it was gone as a warning. After the incident, TechVantage's CEO, Richard Donovan, made significant adjustments to the organization's methods for rewarding and recognizing innovation. According to reports, their new invention recognition and intellectual property protection policies were based on the approach I had set up at Precision Systems. I raised my glass in a toast and remarked, "It was never about revenge." Acknowledgement and demonstrating to the industry that invention is not anonymous were the goals. It comes from actual people who are deserving of actual recognition. Greg clinked his glass on mine and nodded appropriately. I thought back on my journey as the afternoon sun shone through the windows of my office. At the age of 56, I had at last achieved recognition, which had eluded me throughout my career, in addition to success. Now, my name was right where it belonged, permanently linked to the algorithm that had revolutionized an industry.